for stopping by today. Have you ever found yourself tidying up over and over, only to feel like your home still looks off? That was me more times than I can count. It wasn't that I was lazy or messy, it's just that every corner seemed to hold something decorative that didn't really serve a purpose. And over time, those little things started to weigh on me, not just physically, but mentally. I started to feel like I was losing control, not just of my space, but of my time, my focus, and honestly, of myself. That's when I began letting go of certain items I once thought made my home prettier, and surprisingly, that's when my space finally felt calm. I'm sharing 12 of those items in today's video, not to tell you what to do, but in case you're looking for a gentle place to start. If something here resonates with you, maybe that's your sign. Number 1, let's start with something you probably don't even notice anymore, the words on your walls. Wooden signs, framed quotes, printed phrases on jars or boxes, they're meant to feel homey. Bless this mess. Family is everything. Coffee first. At first, it feels warm, familiar, like your house is giving you little reminders throughout the day. But over time, I started to feel like those reminders were more like distractions. On the days when my head was already full, those words just added to the noise. Visual clutter isn't always about color or mess. Sometimes it's language, silent but heavy. So I started taking them down. Not with guilt, just with curiosity. What would my kitchen feel like without the funny sign over the sink? What would my shelves look like if they didn't spell anything? I kept the memories that mattered tucked away in a drawer. But my walls, they got quiet. And with that, so did my head. I'll be sharing a list of tiny clutter spots to reset in under 5 minutes in tomorrow's video. I hope you'll come back for it. Next, let's look at something we all think makes our table look put together, but actually keeps it from ever feeling done. The table always looked done. There was a runner, some placemats, maybe a cute napkin holder, but somehow it never felt done. I'd wipe the surface and still feel like the mess hadn't really left. What I didn't realize for a long time was all those extra layers made my table harder to use and harder to reset. They caught crumbs slid around and added one more visual layer when my eyes already needed a break. So one day I just cleared it. No runner, no cloths, no center bowl, just the surface. And suddenly the table felt like a blank slate again. I could breathe. I could think. Now, when I do use placemats, I pick ones that blend into the table instead of standing out. But most days, I leave it bare. It's easier to clean, easier to use, and it tells my brain this space is clear. You're allowed to rest now. Let's move from the table to the little shelf in the corner, the one you swore was practical, but mostly just holds dust. You probably have one. A small side table or a low shelf you move from another room. It holds a candle, maybe a framed photo, a plant, a bowl you never use. It's cute. It fills the space. But is it helping? In my case, that little shelf slowly turned into a catch-all, a home for things I didn't know where else to put. At one point, it had 3 remotes, a dried-out pen, a Halloween decoration. In May, it wasn't giving me storage, it was giving me guilt. I'd walk by and think I should clean that, I should use that, I should decorate that better. Honestly, it became a full-time performance review I didn't ask for. One weekend, I emptied it. I left it bare for a day. And you know what? I didn't miss it. In fact, the room felt bigger, lighter. I ended up donating the shelf entirely. Sometimes the furniture we think is functional is just holding the weight of our indecision. Or, let's be honest, it's just babysitting dust. Let's move on to something even trickier, the type of clutter we call organization. Some containers are helpful, but some, they're just really polite clutter. I used to think if I bought the right trays, caddies, organizers, my bathroom desk and kitchen would finally feel together. So I bought them. And I filled them. And then surprise, I bought more stuff to fill the rest of the empty space, because somehow having extra compartments made me feel like I needed to earn them. There was one makeup stand I had that spun around. It looked like a lazy Susan for lipsticks. Fun at first until I realized it was encouraging me to keep products I hadn't touched in months. It wasn't organizing me, it was enabling me. Now I limit myself to one small makeup bag. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't stay. Same goes for desk trays, bins, and baskets. One small container per zone. That's it. Because when you shrink the storage, you shrink the temptation. Not everything needs a container. Some things just need to leave. And speaking of things hanging around too long, let's talk about what's still stuck to your fridge door. It starts with one magnet, then a takeout menu, then a school flyer, a sticky note with a phone number you already saved somewhere else. And suddenly, your fridge has its own personality and it's kind of chaotic. Mine used to look like a community bulletin board, but instead of feeling informed, I just felt tired every time I opened the fridge. And let's be honest, half those notes were expired, smeared, or curling at the corners anyway. One day I cleared it all off, and I kid you not, the whole kitchen felt quieter, like I'd turned the volume down on the room. Now I keep one or two things up, maybe a family photo or a weekly list, but nothing more. If it doesn't help me today, it doesn't need to live on the fridge. Visual clutter isn't just about what's on your shelves. Sometimes it's right there in front of your face every time you reach for the milk. Now that the fridge is clear, let's talk about something else that lingers a little too long: seasonal decor that never really left. There's a certain point, maybe mid-February, when the little pine cones by the fireplace start to feel less wintry and more like forgotten chores. I've done it too. A wreath that was too pretty to take down. Some twinkle lights I meant to switch out, but didn't. It's never just one item, it's the slow blur between seasons that makes the house feel stuck in the past. And look, I'm not saying everything needs to be swapped out on January 2nd. Life's busy. But when Christmas is still quietly hanging around in April, it adds this low-level guilt, like your home is reminding you of everything you didn't finish. Now I set a reminder the weekend after each holiday to do one simple thing: walk around and put away whatever doesn't match the current season. No pressure to redecorate, just return to neutral. It helps the house feel fresh again, like a reset button you can actually press. And while we're talking about things that overstay their welcome, let's check the calendar literally. It's funny how long a calendar can stay on a wall after it stops being useful. I once visited a relative and noticed a calendar hanging in the kitchen from 3 years ago. And not some vintage piece, just a regular paper calendar. I asked if they still used it and they said, "Well, I like the pictures." Fair enough, but here's the thing. Even if we don't mean to keep old calendars, we often do. They blend into the background. But every time we glance at them, a part of us registers that it's outdated. Another little reminder of something we didn't update. One more subtle, I'll get to it. Now, I do a quick scan at the start of each season. Anything with the wrong year, wrong month, or no longer relevant gets tossed or recycled. If I really love the artwork, I tear out the page and use it as a drawer liner. Done. Letting go of small outdated things creates space for what actually supports you, now not 3 birthdays ago. And while we're in the mindset of clearing what's no longer working, let's talk about that charming vase in the corner with sticks. You know, the ones tall, curly branches in a big vase, sometimes sprayed with glitter or stuck in filler rocks? At some point, we all decided twigs were decor. I had a set that sat by the entryway. They didn't offend me, but they also didn't do anything. They collected dust got knocked over when the dog ran past and made vacuuming 10 times more complicated. One time, a guest asked if they were part of a craft project I hadn't finished. That was my sign. The truth is, these kinds of oversized decorations often feel like they're anchoring the space, when really they're just standing there taking up floor you could actually use. I eventually let mine go and didn't replace them with anything. Just empty space. And for the first time, that corner didn't feel unfinished, it felt open. Not everything needs to be filled. Sometimes blank corners are the most peaceful parts of the room. Which brings me to something else we often keep, just in case. A collection of remote controls no one remembers how to use. At one point, I had a little basket on the coffee table labeled remotes. Seemed smart. One place to corral them all, but eventually it turned into a graveyard for every remote we ever owned, plus some mystery cables, dead batteries, and a flashlight that only worked when you smacked it twice. Out of the 5 remotes in there, only one was still connected to anything. And every time I reached into that basket, I felt a weird frustration. Like I had to dig through my past tech mistakes just to turn on the TV. So I changed the rule, only active remotes stay out. The one we actually use lives on the shelf under the TV, the rest recycled, stored with labels, or just let go. A just-in-case pile shouldn't live in the center of your living room. Because when you only keep what you use, you don't waste time looking for it or apologizing for the mess. Now that we've cleared the clutter from eye level, it's time to look under the bed. Beds with skirts always made me feel like I was doing something classy, like I was finishing the look. But really, I was just hiding stuff and not well. I used to store all kinds of things under there, random gift bags, old shoes, a yoga mat I hadn't unrolled since 2021. The dust ruffle gave the illusion of tidiness, but underneath it was just avoidance with a hemline. Eventually, I got rid of the skirt. And instead of buying fancy under-bed bins to organize the chaos, I asked myself, what here do I actually need? Turns out almost nothing. Now I use a bigger comforter that drapes just enough to soften the look, but without encouraging me to shove things out of sight. If I store something under the bed now, it's intentional, labeled, and clean. Sometimes the solution isn't a better storage system, it's having less to store. And while we're in the bedroom, let's talk about all those throw pillows and blankets that somehow made the bed feel like a part-time job. There was a time when I thought more layers on the bed meant more comfort. A throw blanket at the foot, decorative pillows arranged just so, a second quilt just in case. It looked good for the 30 seconds before someone actually sat on it. But you know what didn't feel good? Making that bed every morning. It became a whole production. Fold this, fluff that, restack, retuck, reset. Some days I'd skip it altogether because I just didn't have the time or energy. And then I'd walk back in later and feel behind over something as simple as a blanket. So I simplified. Now it's just a top sheet and one comforter. 2 pillows we actually sleep on. No extras, no pile of shams. I can make the bed in under a minute. And better yet, I do make the bed almost every day. Having fewer layers means less resistance. And less resistance makes it easier to start the day on your terms. Once I cleared all those extras from the bed, something else stood out. The perfume bottles lining the dresser looking pretty and collecting dust. Perfume bottles are beautiful and they know it. That's part of the design. They sparkle in the light, come in sculpted glass, and look like art when lined up across a dresser. But the truth, most of them just sit there. I used to have 6 or 7 bottles on display, some almost empty, some too strong for me now, one I hadn't worn since my 20s. But I kept them because they looked nice. Even though I only ever reached for one, the problem was they didn't just sit quietly. They collected dust soaked in sunlight and slowly turned stale. A few had even changed scent completely. So I kept the one I love and use and put it in a drawer. The rest I let go of with gratitude and moved on. What's on display should be what you actually enjoy using, not what you feel guilty for not using. And when you clear even a small corner like that, you create space for something much more valuable: ease. That's my list, 12 little things I let go of to make my home feel calmer, lighter, and a little more honest. If you've been feeling like your space is wearing you down instead of lifting you up, maybe you don't need a full makeover. Maybe you just need to clear the extras that no longer serve you, one shelf, one surface, one small decision at a time. If that idea feels helpful, I think you'll really like the video I have on how to declutter without organizing anything. I'll link it next so you can keep going without feeling overwhelmed. And if this kind of content helps your mind feel lighter, consider subscribing. You deserve a home that feels like it's finally on your side.